Hello everyone, Amanda here. Thank you so much for joining me. So today we are on tutorial 2 of the lovely ocean spray folio. It's a fantastic little project to try. I have step-by-step tutorial videos on the whole process. Today's video is going to be constructing the cover. We're doing a chipboard cover with the fabric tape wrapped method, and we're going to be adding the folio element that we made in video 1 and this section here. So if you missed the previous videos, there is a playlist in the description box below which houses all of the videos that I've done so far relating to this project, and also you'll find a link to the free cutting guide that you can download so you can make this project. So let's get on with tutorial 2. Okay, so we're going to construct the cover. It's very simple. The measurements are on the cutting guide. I'm using 2mm thick chipboard because it's nice and sturdy, but you can use whatever you've got. You can use cereal boxes, whatever you like. Just make sure that whatever you use the same thing on all 3 pieces so that the thickness is consistent. I'm using the fabric tape wrapped method because it's quicker once you get used to it. It is quite easy. You don't need any special skills. It ends up cheaper in the long run than using, you'd need maybe 2 sheets of 12 by 12. Okay, so it's cheaper. So the first thing we're going to do is cut. Let me just straighten that edge. And I may well speed this video up because I've done it so many times. So you're going to cut 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 pieces. Just a little bit shorter than the height of the chipboard, okay? And the height is the same that way as that way, so it doesn't matter which way up you have it at this stage. So you want 6 pieces that size, okay? So I will do that, and I may well speed this bit up. So I have sped this part up. So you need 6 pieces. First of all, the height of your chipboard. You can cut it with scissors, you can cut this stuff with your trimmer. It's lovely, it won't stick up your blades because it's got a backing on. I will leave a link to where I get mine. It may not be the cheapest price. You shop around on AliExpress or Temu, and you want at least 45mm wide. Don't go any less than that, as I've tried ones that are slimmer and I wasn't happy with them. So 45mm wide. So you take the tape backing off. It's super thin. You've got to be careful. Okay, if it's the first time you've ever used it, take your time. Add the chipboard on about halfway, and then we're doing the other side, and we're doing the same. So I'm holding it with a Teflon bone folder because it's non-stick to help me maneuver it. Okay, so about halfway, and make sure it's within, you've cut it a little bit shorter. When it comes to the spine, I've given you different sizing in the cutting guide. You might want to do your spine after you've done all of your folio construction and decided how much space you need. So you're going to need a gap between the cover and the spine. You need a minimum of the width of the chipboard for this project. Because it's only a folio, we just need those covers to open and close. We're not putting any wings in there, we're not putting any cardstock in there. If we were, we would need a gap of a minimum of 1/4 inch. So about 1/8 inch minimum here, okay? And I'm using my T-ruler to get it fairly straight. But don't worry if it's not perfect, especially if it's your first go, don't stress over it. So then we're adding the spine on, another piece of the tape, again about halfway, and you will see that they will overlap at the back. It looks lovely and neat, and I'm using an offcut of chipboard there. I'm pressing it down onto the tape, and it's leaving me a mark of the chipboard, and that's showing me where to place it. Really easy way of doing it, okay? So again, lining up the next one. If you use a T-ruler or a gridded mat or something, and just help make sure that those are lined up straight. Alright, and then I'm adding the back cover outer edge to the tape about halfway again. Okay? Okay. I can't remember what I'm saying there. So then when it comes to the tape for the top and the bottom, you want to cut that to the length of the tape. So not the length of the chipboard, but the length of where the tape ends and starts, okay? And you want two pieces, one for the top and one for the bottom. Again, be careful taking the backing off. Oh yes, here we're doing the inside, so this is going to cover the inside. So add it to one side of the chipboard, don't just lay it straight across, and then whilst you're holding it up, coax it into the gusset, okay? Very carefully with a rounded object that won't go through it, okay? So you're going into the gusset and then you're going to squeeze it across. And what I'm explaining there is you want to go in with your bone folder and make sure that tape is right up against the lips of the chipboard. So again, here I'll show you and I'll explain. So we're sticking it on just onto this spine. I'm not allowing that tape to go onto the rest of the cover, okay? And I'm holding it and I'm going to smooth it into the gussets before I let it stick to the rest of the cover. That way you're getting good flat coverage and it will be burnished right in because you've got tape to tape contact, okay? And that is the best way to do it. I'm measuring the tape there because I'm talking about the width of it. I've already told you that it's 45mm. This is the beauty of speeding things up and doing a voiceover. I'm often waffling about other things. So I'm removing the tape and you can see that that tape there is the length from tape edge to tape edge. I may be off screen a little bit because it's quite a long piece and my screen is... but you can see there I'm lining up this side of that tape to the edge of the top tape, okay? And I'll do the same at the bottom and you'll see the length there is lining up with the edge of the tape there down the right hand side, okay? Holding it straight and then lifting the covers onto the tape. It's the easiest way to do it, okay? Right, so if there's any overhang, you can see there on the right hand side, my top piece of tape is longer than my side piece. So you would trim that off. Now I have a bookbinding tool here that helps me with my corners. That gives me at least an 1/8 of an inch gap for wrapping. And I'm just using my, you can see me there, look, trimming that tape so it's all nice and neat and the same, okay? So you just do that on all four sides. You can just mark it with a pencil and then cut it with scissors. It's fine, okay? And I'll do the same here. That just helps me get more accuracy and it just makes my life a little bit easier. You can get those tools on Amazon. They're about £5. They're not overly expensive. And there's all sorts of versions. There's metal versions, plastic versions. Okay. So then when you've cut all of those, then we're going to start and we're going to wrap the covers. Okay. What am I doing here? I think I'm just making sure it's all nice and neat. Be careful if you're removing sticky tape from sharp scissors because you don't want to cut yourself. Okay. So take your time doing this. All right. So first of all, what you want to do is lift the tape and you want to kind of pull it so that it's covering the very, very lip of the chipboard and then push it around. Now this tape it's got a bit of give but it doesn't stretch, you know, it's not going to go all baggy like elastic, okay? But it's got a little bit, you can pull it a little bit. And when you do that, burnish the edges, then you'll get nice crisp, squared off outer edges on your covers is what I'm trying to say. So then like with any other wrapped cover method, you need to squeeze in those little corners because the tape will overhang ever so slightly. So you just get your bone folder in and you just squash it down flat. Squash it down flat. And then we're going to start with the top. So lift it up and attach it just in the middle of the covers. Okay. Then go to one side and kind of pull it towards the left. And go to the right and pull it towards the right. That's to make sure your corners are covered. Then squeeze it together and just attach in the middle of the signature. And then if you push that tape in, you'll have like little bubbles. And those bubbles will then push into that gusset area, making sure you've got good tape to tape coverage. So here you'll see me do it again. Okay? So I'm attaching it in the middle and then I'm going to pull it to the left there to make sure I'm covering the chipboard, and then squeeze in towards the middle of the spine. Attach it to the middle of the spine with your finger, like you see there, and then push towards, and you'll have two little bubbles. You won't understand until you try it. And then they then burnish in. Don't pull the tape, just flat. Do that, what I've shown you, those steps, and you'll get better results. Then burnish all of the edges to make it nice and crisp, and make sure everything's down flat and you've got no wrinkling. It's quite forgiving. If you've got a bit of a wrinkle because it's your first time, don't worry, just try and flatten it out. You won't notice it. If your corners are a little bit off, you can bash them like I'm doing there, literally, and it will help get those corners into a nice crisp shape. And there you go. That's your cover done. Our folio element, mine is not fully decorated yet, so I'm not sharing it yet. Got a piece of fluff in there, and you just glue the back here. You want plenty on. I'm going to actually use my collal because it's just a little bit more fluid, and it doesn't dry as fast. So I've got my very back piece, and I'm putting not loads of glue, about leave a gap, because that glue will spread out and you don't want it seeping. You can always go in if it's not down, if you feel like it needs the edges with a bit more adhesion. You can always sneak in with, just lift it up gently with a bone folder or a paper piecer and just squeeze a bit more glue in there. But if you put loads on and it all splodges out, it'll be a hot mess all over your tape. You don't want that. Okay, you can obviously spread it out with your finger as well. I can't stand glue on my hands. I can't stand it. Okay, so that should be okay. And then all of this is ever so slightly, it's 1/4 of an inch on the height and on the width shorter than this. So you want to put it on, okay, and you want to centralise it. So you'll have a small gap, top, bottom, side to side. Just make sure that that gap is even all the way around, and obviously that this little thing sits nicely and it's not too close to the spine. Otherwise, when you close your cover, it's going to crash against there and it's going to crush the edges of your folio there. So you want I'd have more space here than here, if you get my meaning. Okay, I'm just going to open all of it, and I'm going to, where I can, I'm going to press, and I'm going to make sure that that looks nice and straight. And because I've used my collal, I've got wiggle room, and I can check the spacing bottom side and top there, and I can tell by eye whether it's straight and whether I've got an even border. Okay, it's very forgiving if it's not perfect. So long as it's within the constraints of your cover, you'll be fine. Don't worry too much. Okay, we go for progress over perfection on this channel. It's about crafting, not being absolutely perfect, because I don't think there's such a thing, and I think there's a lot of beauty in imperfection. Okay. So that's how you attach that. Okay, now if you look, you've got space here, and that is because we're going to do something on the inside cover, on the inside of that cover, and we're going to do something on the outside, but I'm going to leave that for another tutorial. So make sure you're subscribed, following along. I will leave the playlist for all of the videos in the description box so that you can follow along, and that will fold flat when you open it, okay, which is always beneficial. Okay, mine could have done with a little bit more space. It's not as flexible as I'd like folding it, and maybe could have left a little bit more space, but it lies flat, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'll see you in the next tutorial and we will get some more done. Bye for now.